All right, let's get to the last part and the practical applications of underfloor heating. I want to clarify a few concepts. For those of you who've done it a long time or not, we should clarify that underfloor heating, floor heating, radiant heating, it's all the same thing. It's radiant heating. Radiant is just a method. We talked about it: conduction, convection, radiation. Radiant is just a method of heating. Floor or underfloor is just the location of where the system is placed in the construction. Whether you talk about floor heating or about radiant heating, there's no insinuation that one is a primary heat source and one is a secondary heat source or a comfort source. They're all the same thing. Whether you talk about hydronic water systems or electric system, they're all radiant heating. They do the same thing. I've done this 20 years, and if you put me in a room with radiant heat, I couldn't tell you whether it's electric or hydronic. So an electric system will be expressed in watts. That's how you measure electricity. And a hydronic system will be expressed in BTUs, in British thermal units, usually because it's using a gas system. If you want to convert one and the other, 1 watt is 3.41 BTUs. So that's for the quiz later or to impress your friends at Thanksgiving. Good. So wanted to clarify that point. I hear it a lot. I've heard it a lot over the years that floor heating is not quite radiant heating, or radiant heating is the water type and floor heating is the electric type. It's all the same thing. Radiant is radiant. Electric and hydronic are radiant. One is in watts, one is in BTUs. When should I choose one or the other? There are plenty of products out there. Hydronic was really one of the first ones. Electric came after that. Many companies will tell you that floor heating has been around since the Romans. It's all over the world. People have had a need for heating for many, many years, ever since we've roamed around. First, we used the sun, then a bit of fire, and after that, we got a little more sophisticated. These systems have been around in many forms. There are systems out in Korea where they circulate hot air. There are steam systems. But ultimately, you have a choice between electric and hydronic. And how do you make that choice? We've already clarified that the effectiveness, what you're going to get, can it heat your space, is equal. It can heat your space whether it's a water-based or an electric system. You can choose one or the other whether you have a remodel or a new construction. An electric system will be thinner and easier to design than a hydronic system that requires connection to a pump and a boiler. So if you're doing just a master bathroom, electric is your friend because the system will need a whole lot more work to tie to the boiler, and that may not be practical. Electric and hydronic will also vary whether you do a small or large area. Hydronic is a good system when you do a large space or a whole house because you have that upfront expense of the mechanical space. So that mechanical, that boiler, if you use the existing one or you need a new one, setting up the pump, the manifolds, and the controls, that has a cost. It needs to be hosted somewhere in a closet. And because of that, heating 50 square feet isn't cost effective. It's only effective when you heat a large amount of space. Again, in a small space, electric will be your friend, much more contained, easier to design, as we said. And the final consideration between electric and hydronic is your access to power. In some parts of Colorado and some parts of the country, you don't even have access to gas. You can't get gas in much of the mountains in Colorado. So really, electricity is your only choice. But the cost of gas or electricity will also determine your choice. So if you live in Seattle right now, your cost of electricity is pretty low. If you live in Quebec, your cost of electricity is pretty low. If you have solar panels, electricity is your friend. In many other parts of the country, gas is your friend, and gas will power a boiler. And so a hydronic system is your friend. So you kind of look at this chart that I've simplified: remodel, small, and electricity will be a choice for an electric system. New construction, also because it's a thicker buildup for a hydronic system, so you kind of want to plan for it. If you're just doing a single room remodel, probably can't afford to have 2 inches building up. That will be a choice for a hydronic system. So hopefully that helps between choosing an electric and a hydronic system. An electric system is usually now installed on membranes. This is kind of the new practice. These membranes allow you to protect your floor from cracks and movement. This is what they call decoupling or anti-fracture. And then the cable now snaps into these little membranes. The real benefit for floor heating folks is that it's not so much the cracking of your floor. That's a great addition. But is that 20 years ago when I started, we used to have quite a few calls about broken cables and damaged this and systems not turning on. All of that has almost completely vanished because these membranes, since they encapsulate the cable, have actually been protecting the cable from tiling and knee pads and buckets and trowels. So that's really been a nice benefit and a nice evolution in the industry. These systems can be thin-sided or floated. There are peel and stick systems. There are really a variety of systems on the market, but these membranes are about 6 mils, so about 1/4 inch thick. And once you've floated it, you can put wood, vinyl, anything you want on top. You can glue it. Tile is, of course, the most common where you use tinted here on the picture. And then for floor heating system, it's important to know that there are some more obscure but available product out there that are specifically for floating floors. So the system where the cable is encapsulated into multiple layers of foil, and that is very useful when you have a floating laminate, floating engineered, or a lot of these LVTs, very popular with these LVT floors. A thin set cementitious application is not the de facto. It is the standard because a lot of people put floor heating on a tile, but there are other systems out there, and really there is a system for every floor type you can find at a flooring store today. Even nailed wood floors, that is a misconception that I like to address real quick, because the wood floors are often understood not to be compatible with heated floors, and that is definitely a misconception. Wood floors are not affected by temperature until you get to 360 degrees. That wood floor doesn't move, and your floor isn't going to get to 360 degrees. So the wood floor is actually really affected by moisture, by humidity. That's why when you buy natural wood, whether you nail it or glue it, you have to let it sit for 2, 7, 14 days into your house before you can actually glue it or nail it. And that's because the wood needs to adapt to the humidity level of where you're going to install it. That wood may not come from your state or your climate, so it needs to adapt to that state. That is 100% relating to the moisture content in the air, has nothing to do with the temperature. Temperature is actually very, very constant with a heated floor because you can control it with a floor sensor and a thermostat. And as we said before, heated floors do not affect moisture in the space. So they're really actually the wood's best friend because they can gradually heat up and let cool down a wood floor, as opposed to having bursts of heat and moisture content variations that they really don't like. That's how they contract, and that's how you see gaps in your floor. It really has nothing to do with heated floors. Heated floors and wood are really, really good friends. It hasn't been accepted by all manufacturers in terms of the wood manufacturers yet, but it really is something that I like to point out. So there is a floor heating system for literally every floor type out there. And that's important to make my point that it really is more than a bathroom luxury on the tile. I really want to entice you and challenge you into considering heated floors as a heating system. Think about places that are difficult to heat. Think about a mudroom. The entryway, the back way of a house, always tough to heat because that door opens and closes and opens and closes all the time. And it's difficult to heat. It's usually very exposed. So a heated floor there could really be a nice supplementary heating system. If you live in a place where it snows a lot, it can melt the snow off your boots, and it can actually make sure that the furnace doesn't kick on and off all the time just because the mudroom gets opened and closed more often than any other space in the house. We talked about basements. Basements are really difficult to heat because hot air rises. Heat doesn't rise, heat goes in all directions, but hot air rises. So if you use a furnace or an air heating type system, you're going to have a hard time pushing that air downwards. In large cathedral ceilings, you'll see fans to try to push that air down when you try to heat people that are sitting literally within 1 and 6 feet of the ground, and you have ceilings that are 20 feet. That's going to be difficult with a forced air system. So basements that are below level, below grade, are difficult to heat. So this is where you can have a furnace, you can have another heating system, but floor heating may be your friend in supplementing the heat into that space without having to oversize your furnace. And then sunrooms and places with a lot of windows, floor to ceiling windows on the walls. Well, baseboards and radiators aren't your option here. You can't really put them in front of your beautiful windows. And a forced air system will have a huge challenge because they'll be facing that heat loss all the time through those windows. However efficient they are, they still lose heat. And because of that, a floor heating system will be your friend and make that 2-season sunroom a 4-season sunroom. And now you know that you can install it under floating floors, LVTs, carpet, wood. It's really a great system. So quick word on carpet. Carpet floating floor, so that foily looking system you saw a few slides ago is what you'd want to use for it. But why would you heat carpet? Well, let me tell you a little secret. Carpet and tile are the exact same temperature. Based on my experience in presentations, this should surprise most of you on this call. Carpet and tile are the exact same temperature. You can try it. You can take your laser pointing thermometer. The tile in your basement and the carpet in your basement are the exact same temperature. That's because everything in a space that doesn't have its own heat source like a light bulb or a computer is the same temperature. Because of that, it is your contact with that carpet or that tile that defines whether it's comfortable or not. Your body is 98 degrees at the core, but about 80 degrees at your hands and feet. So when your 80-degree foot steps on a 70-degree carpet, there is a 10-degree difference, and there is a transfer of heat that happens. But on a piece of tile that's a very good conductor, that transfer of heat happens very fast, and you lose a lot of heat. Nothing worrying, but you lose heat to that tile and it feels uncomfortable. When you step on a carpet floor, that transfer of heat doesn't happen very fast because it's just fiber, and fiber is not a good conductor, so it doesn't feel like you're losing that heat. Your 80-degree foot on a 70-degree floor will be dependent on how good a conductor that floor is. So if it's concrete or tile, that transfer of heat will happen faster. So why does that feel uncomfortable? Well, it's because your body can only operate between about 92 and 105 degrees. At 92 degrees sustained temperature, you die. And 105 degrees sustained temperature, you die as well. So your body is trained and has built-in mechanisms like sweating when you work out to keep you within that tight little bracket and keep you alive. When you start losing heat or gaining heat, it immediately gives you that sense of discomfort. That's why when you step on a tile floor that's 70 degrees, the exact same temperature as a carpet, your body feels that transfer of heat and has that immediate feeling that we have to stop this, we have to get out of here, and we have to get some slippers. But that doesn't help me, so get heated floors. But now you know that carpet and tile are the exact same temperature. Please do not tell anybody. That would get me out of business. So can you do the whole house with the heated floors? Well, yes, we said it can go under any type of floor. It can be hydronic or electric. It can be designed. It's a heating system. It could be designed to actually supplement depending on your heat loss. So absolutely, there are plenty of people who call my company on a daily basis to heat their whole house. It is not the most common heating system out there, there's no doubt, but it is an amazingly comfortable system and an amazingly convenient system based on the benefits we outlined before, such as indoor air quality. Healthy is going to be the new green, and based on the design freedom that you get from designing with it. So you can get a design for your entire house. It'll be multiple systems that you can control at different times or turn off. If you have a guest suite where no one really is for most of the time, well, don't turn it on. You don't have to heat that space. You could keep it just above freezing, and that's about all you need. But think about when you do a whole house with heated floors, you could really do parts of it and combine it with your existing heat source. So it doesn't have to be the only source of heat. It could be a combination of different heat sources. Before we get to that, a quick idea on a 3,000 square foot home, how much it would cost. A hydronic system is about $30,000. An electric system will run you about $15,000. So there is a big difference there, but don't forget, electric, 1 watt will cost more than 1 therm. So typically, if you're in the average of the American cost of energy, electricity will cost you more than gas, but it will take about 10 to 11 years at national average rates for you to break even. So if you buy hydronic, you'll pay a lot up front, and then you'll pay less over time. And if you buy electric, you'll pay less up front, but you'll pay more every day that you use it. And of course, as we said, if you have renewable energy or cheap electricity or cheap gas, that will skew that formula. So you have to play that based on your local parameters. But here's an idea of a hybrid system. If, again, we talked about how in your morning routine, you wake up, use the bathroom, use the kitchen, go to work, you can have the furnace heating the house by 65 instead of 70 degrees. If you have a floor heating system that heats those 3 rooms, just when you need it for that hour and a half where you get ready and get off to work, don't heat the whole house at 70 degrees, just heat those 3 rooms, use them, and then go to work. And when you come back from work at 5, 6 o'clock, then you have the whole house heated because you're more likely to use more spaces in your house. But remember how much heat they said you could save by dropping your thermostat by a degree. Well, imagine what it is with 5 degrees. So this is an easy example, an easy benefit of using heated floors as a combination to other systems that you currently have. You don't have to get rid of what you have and replace it with heated floors. You can combine things because ultimately your furnace is in one location, it has ductwork, and at the far end of that ductwork, you do not get the same amount of heat. You may not get that room as comfortable as you want. And if that's not the case, how are you going to heat the other spaces in that house? Well, you can heat it with heated floors. It's one of the options you have. Of course, you could buy a space heater at Walmart. Actually, that uses more wattage than a heated floor, so don't do that. But there are different systems on the market today. I wanted to point out that you could use heated floors to heat those spaces. It's definitely a heat source. It's not just a bathroom luxury. A few examples there. If you live in one of those places, you may relate. We have seen heated floors in luxury tree houses and tiny homes. It's very popular in tiny homes. We do a lot of those. We even have a test home in Tucson, Arizona, fully heated with heated floors, but powered by solar panels. So they have a zero cost on their heated floors. Any sort of whole house remodel really benefits from that consideration of, can I use heated floors to heat the space? So these cabins are a bit self-sustaining, may not have access to gas. Great ability to use heated floors as a primary heat source. And then, of course, you could go beyond the residential dwelling. You can go into commercial installations. We regularly do a lot of churches because they have high ceilings, so it's a great way to do it. In Europe, it also maintains the moisture content, so it doesn't degrade the centuries-old tapestries and paintings they have in there. So heated floor is a good solution for them. Shoe stores, gym lockers, prisons. Yeah, believe it or not, you don't want a heating system that prisoners can get access to, so you put it in the slab. Then it's completely invisible, doesn't cause any risk to anybody. Prisons are not uncommon. We've done a whole lot of wacky things out there over 20 years. Heated floors are definitely for commercial installations as well. We do a lot of condos and high rises, Hudson Yards, Chelsea Piers. If you live in New York, you've recognized those. So what have we learned today? We've learned that heat loss is important. When I design a heating system, it's important that I know how much heat I'm losing and that I resolve that the best I can. I'm not telling you to get R60 windows, but I'm telling you that you have to be mindful of it. There's no point oversizing your heating. Actually, if you're chasing lead points or if you're working on a project where you try to get a specific rating, oversizing your heating system, oversizing your furnace can give you lead penalty points. And so you don't want that. You don't want penalty points. So actually you can downsize your furnace a little bit and heat the basement with radiant heat. And that actually has no penalty points. You can reduce the size of your furnace and voila, you've got yourself a higher rating. So combining heat sources in a space, even a residential dwelling, is a great idea. It improves the comfort of your customer and it can actually meet your own benefits. Electric or hydronic, we said there's no good, better, best. It just depends on a few factors. Electric is more for smaller spaces, remodel, and definitely if you have access to cheap electricity. Hydronic will be your friend if you do the whole house. If you are new construction, because it's about 1.5 inch, 2 inch buildup or poured in the slab. And it is also, of course, your friend if gas is the cheaper alternative of the two energies where you live. Radiant heating is a method of heating. Electric and hydronic are the two main or most common options for those. There are others, but radiant heating is a method of heating. Floor heating is just where it sits. Floor heating and radiant heating are the same thing. They're a primary heat source and they're not just a bathroom luxury under tile. So that's what I want to leave you with today. Floor heating is more than a bathroom luxury. Think about it beyond the bathroom. Hopefully I can entice you into trying it in some new projects.